Now these should be the easiest lines, but they're actually usually the hardest lines to graph because something's missing. You really should, until you get a lot of experience with this, you should start the same way and write y equals mx plus b. But this general slope-intercept form has two terms, the variable term and the constant term. In this equation, y equals 8, I'm missing something. Well, the question is, am I missing the variable term or am I missing the constant term? What's missing? If you don't see any x, this is what's missing. So b is 8. But what is m? If there's no x, what's the only thing I could multiply by x that would make x disappear? 0. So this, when you see y equals 8, it's the same as y equals 0x plus 8. Because 0x is 0, and that's why you don't see it. So m is 0. So b is 8. B is our y-intercept, so we still start the same way. We plot a point at y equals positive 8, the y-intercept. But then what kind of line has a slope of 0? 0 is not positive, so it's not an uphill slope. 0 is not negative, so it's not a downhill slope. And what's in between all the uphill and downhill slopes? Flatland, horizontal line. Horizontal lines have a slope of 0. If you tried to do delta y over delta x, you could do 0 over anything, like 0 divided by 3 is 0, right? So from my point, if my change in y is 0, I'm not going to move up or down at all, but I'm going to move right 3, and you could draw a line through those 2 points. You'll also notice that no matter what x I pick, when x is 1, y is 8. When x is 7, y is 8. When x is negative 6, y is 8. That's what this means. Y is constantly 8. It doesn't matter what x is. There's no consideration for the variable x, because no matter what x is, the line doesn't vary because it's being multiplied. The x is being multiplied by 0, so it doesn't affect the line. It's constantly 8. Here we have another linear equation where we're missing a term, but we should still start with y equals mx plus b. Are we missing the variable term or are we missing the constant term? Well, I see x, so we must have the variable term. We have the mx part. We just don't have the plus b. Or do we? If you just see negative 2x, it's the same as negative 2x plus what? Well, plus 0. Because if it's plus 0, then I wouldn't have to show the plus 0. That's the additive identity. And so there is a b, there is a y-intercept, but that y-intercept is 0, the origin. Proportional linear equations that are also proportional will cross the y-intercept at the origin. And so m is the number being multiplied by x, the coefficient of the variable term, so m is negative 2. And when we write the slope m as a change in y over a change in x, we write it as a ratio of negative 2 over 1, because negative 2 divided by 1 is negative 2. So from the origin, from the only point we know, from the y-intercept, we move change in y, vertical change of negative 2, down 2. From there, we do a horizontal change in x of positive 1, so 1 to the right. So there are the 2 points for my line. And I was expecting, since I have a negative slope, I was expecting downhill, and that's what we have. So that all checks out. I believe there's at least one example in the several problems that we did on the notes that should help you with every type of problem on the homework. The homework will be completed tomorrow, and then use tomorrow's Nearpod to grade it, get some help on the ones that gave you trouble, and report the grade to me.